Welcome, Wild Ones, to Wild and Well Together. Becca and Jen here for Her Huddles on Monday mornings. And this week's conversation explores this beautiful tension between becoming and being. This idea of the pull to grow, to improve, to evolve, alongside this piece of accepting ourselves in the here and now. Who am I right now? Am I okay with who I am and becoming okay? Or being okay in the now and then growing and taking steps to further advance who I am or get to know myself better and then also enhance the life that I want to live. So this paradox between being and becoming and how do we operate within that as women. So thank you for joining today. We look forward to getting into the discussion, and without further ado, we have to start with unpopular opinions. Jen, what do you have for us?
Yes. All right. So, unpopular opinion is that it is completely okay and approved and encouraged to start decorating for Christmas pre-Thanksgiving. I'm going to leave that there. What do we think?
I'm a no. I'm a no
Really?
girl. I am. We can
So
we
when do you decorate? Do you decorate?
I do. Okay, great question. I do decorate. We
Okay.
decorate day after Thanksgiving. So
Okay.
Thanksgiving's on a Thursday.
Okay.
Friday morning is we're all together, and it's just that
Okay.
turnover there, and let's get everything out for Christmas. But
I
I
like it.
love the festivity of Christmas. I love Christmas, so I love the fact that you're like, no, let's get into it. And do you host Thanksgiving with Christmas decorations up then?
Yeah, so my take is that after Halloween it is free game. However, I sort of slow play it. I'll start to bring waves of decorations out over time.
Hmm.
And so I'll have a few decorations up at Thanksgiving. So when we host Thanksgiving, it's like, am I at Thanksgiving or am I at Christmas? And I
Okay.
kind of like it like that. But then everything, yes, for sure comes out post Thanksgiving. But I'm a pre-Thanksgiving kind of gal if I could have it my way. 100%.
You're pulling me out of my box because I'm like, but no, what about Thanksgiving? And then what about Christmas? And then what about, although Christmas I leave up. So in Colorado, a fun fact is traditionally we would leave up our Christmas stuff until the National Western Stock Show. Colorado,
Oh,
Denver used to be like an old sleepy cowboy town, Western town. And so we'd leave it up. National Western Stock Show comes January, it ends
okay.
towards the end of January.
Cool.
And so we would leave up Christmas stuff through there. So to your point, in theory, I would cut it off right at the 31st of December, have
Yeah.
New Year's as a new celebration, and then start my year new. But because of what I wanna do, we leave it up through the National Western Stock Show. So,
Okay.
you
Yeah,
know,
that's
again,
a
I'm on the
I
back end
hadn't
longer.
even thought of asking the question that way, like, how long can you leave your decorations up?
Ooh, maybe that's one to come, but
Yeah.
I love this idea of post-Halloween, not post-Thanksgiving, decorations are going up.
Yeah. Yep.
Ugh, cool.
Going up.
Alright, please submit, share. We'll have it out on our socials. Would love to hear from you all. And then getting into today's conversation, where do you land on becoming versus being?
Be so I have struggled with this for a lot of my life because I feel very, like, motivated by the future, excited by the future, which I think can leave me ungrounded in the present, and so I'm always trying to, like, reach for the next thing, do the next task, identify what's next, like on my roadmap of life or work or whatever it may be. And I think that puts me really squarely or primarily in becoming. Who am I becoming? Who can I become to go do those things or get those things done versus just being satisfied and patient with being. I've been working on that, I'd say, in, like, the last couple of years because I look back, like, especially my college days, I was so focused on becoming. And I was like, I wonder what I missed because I wasn't fully being along the way, you know?"
I do know. As you're sharing that, I'm receiving it and saying, "Me too." Where I sit with it is, how am I calm? How do I take in where I am? How do I, or get animated or whatever, but how do I live in a place of the here and now
Hmm.
and not just to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing? Or this idea of, how do I, what's the cliche or the quote of like, stay in the journey, not the destination, or have eyes on the
Yeah.
journey, not the destination. And I do think it's a dance. And so we titled this Being versus Becoming. And I almost wonder if it's, as we're learning and as we're digging in, is that it's being and becoming, and
Mm.
switching out that versus in our mind, switching it out in our actions, switching out in our beliefs and thoughts is I am being, I am who I am, and also I want to become. And I don't
Mhm.
think either is negative. However, when we drop one off, then we operate in a incomplete existence. For
Yeah.
example, in my life, I'm really stoked for the days that I get to see my kids big and what they get excited about and what they wanna do, and yet I don't wanna miss the here and now.
Mm.
Both of them are in such a sweet stage and a crazy stage, we'll call it what it is, of punches and wrestling and, "Mom, you're epic," and that's cool, right? Or, "Let me tell you about my dinosaurs and Legos," and I hope that that's always true. That they can come to me, maybe the topic is different, but the animation, the curiosity, that stays, and so cultivating
Mhm.
that here and now, and then also it'll probably change into, "I'm so interested in this boy or girl," or, "I'm so
Yeah.
interested in this college or going into the military," right? These are other things for aspirations for them. And so how do I also model that to
Mhm.
say, "Hey, I'm content with where I am now too." And yet I want to we're starting a podcast. We are doing we're not even starting anymore. We're now in, you know, episode we're in the teens now. And so like with that, we are and we're becoming better and better at this craft too. And so in my own life, how do I live it out and then how do I model it? And that's on the surface level.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to go deeper. How do I come into a place of accepting who I am now?
Mhm.
And when I think about some of my college days, I'm proud of who I am. I
Mhm.
lived a life that was really beautiful in those times. And also I can reflect and I'm thankful that I've become who I've become over the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the dance that I'm in of being proud of who I am, content with who I am, and also saying, "Hey, Beck, you could do better there," or "Oh, I missed the mark," because we're gonna miss the mark.
Yeah.
We are human, and so we're gonna miss the mark. And it says, oh, whether that be with fitness, whether that be with relationships, whether that be with work, whether that be with self, saying, this is where I am. I'm content and I want to grow.
Yeah.
And so looking at the next 10 years for you, what's something that you're content with? I'm putting you on the spot. What's something that you're content with right now with who Jen is, with who you are? And
Mm.
what's something or someone that you want to grow into, that you want to explore? Where would you like to enhance your life to?
That's a good question. I think in terms of contentment, I've come a long way and I feel fairly pleased about my ability to cherish and almost recognize the present. I feel like sometimes life is just happening and I don't even mindfully think to myself ever. Even just saying something simple as like, this is the present moment, this is the moment you are in. Like, devour this moment because it's gonna be gone here in a few seconds, and even that gentle reminder to myself mentally has been really grounding for me of just that being and that acceptance of who I am, the space I'm in, the people I'm with, and yeah, that has been a small habit that I've been trying to coach myself on, so I feel content about that because I can feel how it impacts my ability to be more present in the present. Which I want. And then looking forward, I think that I still have this, I really operate under this lens of, like, I always wanna have something on the calendar to look forward to, and but I think that I future project sometimes too much where I, like, then that especially with plans. I do this with plans. I'm a big calendar gal. Try to get my husband sat down, and he actually really helps pull me back to the present because he's like, I cannot commit to something that's 6 months away, and I'm like, nice, okay. Well, I guess here we are then. So I think that that sort of tug and pull, and to have somebody like a partner that can help mirror that for you and be that reminder I've benefited from. I would say I think I can continue working on that for myself.
So funny. You're the type of person, I'm guessing then, that has, like, a calendar for a calendar. So you're like, "Okay, John, we'll have our joint calendar." However, I have
Yeah.
my sub calendar, which is who I'm married to. That's like, "These are all the plans I want to do. Let's see how they dance. Let's see how they play." Or a list for a list, right? That sort
Yes.
of thing. One of the things that I'm growing in, and I've shared it previously and I will continue to, is being a people pleaser.
Mm.
And in that dance of people pleasing, it's how do I come into a place where I enjoy people still, and yet I don't have to prove myself, or I don't have to have the opinions of others contribute to my life so much that then I'm changing how I adapt. And that's the biggest difference from my younger self that I'm grateful for learning in my 30s is my worth is not attached to the approval of others.
Yep.
In psychology, we call it core concept. Self-esteem is important. However, core concept is this idea of I believe this to be true about myself. Therefore, what someone else says holds weight, but it doesn't change my worth. And so for me, my growth has been recovering people pleaser, my self concept, who I believe myself to be,
Mhm.
who I know myself to be matters. And it's
So
not going to
it's
change.
almost like you're embracing or accepting a core truth
Mhm.
that then allows you to move beyond something that was previously limiting you.
Oh,
Okay.
look at you, Jen. Yeah, I haven't put it that clear. Is exactly that of, okay, I know that I'm loved by the
Mhm.
creator. I know I serve a purpose that the world needs. And I have a really close circle of people who love me well and call me out on my stuff and love me well.
Mhm.
And in that security, especially that first piece, in that security, then I can say what other people say hurts or it stings or it's really uplifting. And I respond how I do because I'm human. And yet my worth, how I then operate the next moment, the next day, doesn't have to be attached to that. There's not
Yeah.
that barrier anymore for my existence and my operation based on what other people say to me, to your point.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this idea then of core belief? I call it core belief. I know you call it acceptance. Go into that because you have some beautiful words there.
I was reading about this concept of sort of like the growth acceptance paradox and how an American psychologist, Carl Rogers, came up with this construct. But basically the premise is that like if we're so we can be so stuck in becoming what do we want to do, how do we want to change next, that if we're fundamentally unable to accept who we are today and where we are today, that will actually be a barrier in becoming the thing that we spend so much time dwelling on. And and that's hard, by the way, too, is to just be like, I accept where I am and like where I'm at. And also there is a degree of freedom that I think comes with that. It's opening something. It's like I really see I'm going visual for a second, but I feel like once we welcome that acceptance internally with whatever area of our life we're looking at, it's almost like the door just slowly starts to creak open. And okay, now we can walk through this portal of growth. But until we accept, like how you were saying, until I accept the core truth that I know I'm loved and I know that I serve a purpose, until I accept that to its core, fundamentally, I don't think I can walk through that door of transformation and change and growth. And that flips this whole thing on its head. It makes me think of it very differently.
Yeah. I I hear what you're saying in that of it flipping it's the script of this idea of my self-criticism or that right? We have those visual, you went visual. And so I was thinking almost this guy over here or this gal or whomever is saying, "You got this. You can do it. Show up for others. Run the marathon, whatever it may be." And this one's like, "You didn't work out enough.
Yeah.
You aren't pretty enough. You could definitely have a better or a higher IQ or
Mhm.
whatever," right? And there's that self-criticism, and sometimes it's really ugly, and sometimes it's mundane, and yet it still wears at us over and over and erodes. And
Yeah.
then over here is like, "Hey, you didn't work out as much as you need to, so you might be breathing heavy, or you might have to walk rather than sprint. Yet you have this, and you are still enough to continue to show up in that race, or enough to show up in that class, or enough to go complete that project and presentation, whatever it
Yeah.
may be. And so that's what I'm hearing is almost if this scale is so loud on ours in our ear, then we miss all this beautiful action of getting to go into the marathon, or saying, I am going to travel to that other country that I'm really nervous to go to, or I'm going to sign up for this at work, or put myself out there at work. And so a risk comes with it, but also the reward of saying, "Oh, I can do this. I can push through the hard." And
Mhm.
so I really love that. And one of the things that I am working on myself also is this podcast, the idea of this misogi, this 50-50 shot. We may or may not grow into a movement. We are making micro moments, many of them over and over and over again, to then make this macro movement. And that is a
Mhm.
daily practice of saying, I have confidence enough now to be very humbled through the process, to still
Yeah.
show up in and day out, to then see where it goes. And it's almost this open adventure, like you said, of the freedom. It flips it on its head of saying, like, okay, I'm still nervous. Okay, I still have all those emotions, but they don't dictate
Yeah.
me to not do something, to not engage with a relationship, to not love myself, to not jump into the workspace that I want to.
Yeah, and I almost wonder if this idea of, like, acceptance of our current state of being also requires some additional honesty that can feel scary sometimes,
Mhm.
and I wonder if focusing on the becoming and the who I should be, you know, eh yeah, I just wonder if the self-acceptance, I think that there's some self-honesty to there that I don't know if that always feels good.
Yeah, no doubt it doesn't feel good. I'm with you. Of some of my hardest moments have pulled me, have sharpened me, but it hurts. It's like an excavation. And on a previous podcast, Kevin He came on and he asked the question of, would you change anything of the past?
Mm,
And I, like, worked through it, and ultimately I said, some things I don't want cancer, I don't want death in the family, I don't want children taken
yeah.
advantage of, I don't want children starving. Those things are all true.
Mhm.
So those I would change. However, of my own story, no, because I've either learned or I've grown or God's made good out of it. And so, however, I look back too and I'm like, man, some of those moments hurt so
Yeah.
bad. I'm talking about those aching moments where our stomachs hurt, where tears come to our eyes, and it's not pretty cry. It is like ugly over and over again to console us.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then I'm like, I made it through that. We've made that through that. We've worked through those things. And so as we're working through it now in the conversation, coming and being exist as an and, both are
Mhm.
true. And it doesn't mean pain's not gonna come. It doesn't mean we're gonna avoid and operate in that toxic positivity that we talked about in a previous podcast.
Right.
Rather, though, we're gonna sit and or move through it and say, like, "Hey, we can do the hard things."
Yeah.
Trusting I'm gonna come out of it because I know who I am now, and I'm willing to become who's next. And so that's the iteration and the dance that I think is that acceptance right there, that self-acceptance of, "Hey, oh, I don't like this about me," and yet, okay, I can either change it or I can accept it, but
Yeah.
I need to move in that, and I need to do
Right.
something with it. What are your thoughts on this idea of we come with nothing, we end with nothing? This is, like, really philosophical right now, but how then in the middle of our 100 years, Lord willing, that then we create what existence we create? And I'll pose that. What I'm thinking about that is, how do I, 1, love myself and then love others well?
Mhm.
And does anything really matter anymore? Through my 20s, I would have said yes, lots of other things. But does anything else matter? So what do you think about the in between? What do we do with it practically?
My initial reaction in my head was, "Oh, then it's all about being, baby." But I
YOLO,
don't want
YOLO.
to abandon becoming because I think that there is something beautiful about the human experience of working towards something, whether it's like an accomplishment or becoming a next evolution of self. I do believe in that. And we play different roles, we wear different hats in our lives, and the first time we are mom or sister or friend or coworker, we may not be good at it. And so I do believe that there are merits to focusing on the becoming, but I think more about, yeah, if nothing can come with us, then yeah, I think that it's the challenge is then how do you be or focus on being in a way that is so rich and fulfilling that, when it is time to go, you're looking back and you're like, I was the most present, fullest version of myself for the circumstances I was in this lifetime. And is there some harmony or peace that you're able to achieve on our way out of this life? That if you were only focused on becoming, 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 and you never found resonance with being, I would imagine that then on your way out of this earth, there's probably some dissatisfaction or something that doesn't feel aligned fully. Whereas if you're at peace with who you were and your being, I think you would probably feel more peaceful.
My shoulders dropped as you said that. I That's the crux of this right here, and I'm teary because that's what I want for people, right? Who are elderly, who are you and I, who are middle-aged, young, wherever we are in our existence, is to say, "I'm at peace with who I am. I've forgiven myself for the things that I hurt,
Mhm.
and I am finding healing for the things I don't talk about." And then I'm also enjoying the parts of life that come and are beautiful because there's moments of all those things in every day, sometimes scaled higher, sometimes more impactful. All those things exist. And so, this acceptance concept is really, really resonating with me. My brother takes it a step further as you were sharing that, and he talks about radical acceptance,
Mm.
this idea of I'm going to accept what is, and either I change my response to it, my beliefs about it, or I simply kick back and say, okay, and then continue on with life. And
Yeah.
I am coming into that place of, oh, how do I do that with other people? In the
Mhm.
sense of like, whether I agree with you or not here, do I still show up for you? Do I still love you? If I can't, then I say, all right, I'm going to figure out with myself the why. And that's what's coming in is this idea of coming back to ourselves,
Yeah.
reflecting, am I at peace with who I am in the life that I've lived
Yeah.
on the macro scale? And hopefully we get it for 100 years. I'll speak that
Right.
into existence for you and I and all of us of a life well lived. And so as we wrap up this portion of it, the goal isn't to choose between becoming and being. It's to dance between them. It's an
Mhm.
and, not a versus. And accepting this paradox of being and becoming are acceptance and growth.
Mhm.
And I say that crazy. So it's this paradox of accepting who I am where I'm at and an opportunity to grow and recognizing if I only focus on the growth, it's a barrier to who I am now.
Yeah.
And if I accept who I am now, I can allow the criticisms to go away, and it almost flips the door open and says, "Now go grow. Now go
Right.
be who you are."
A little counterintuitive. A little
Yeah, my
counterintuitive.
brain is a little bit this way right now because it's in the philosophical. 2 practical ways to do it. One, we're gonna go into 60 seconds to centered and then into journal prompt. The 60 seconds to centered is go and grab if you have sticky notes, piece of paper, lipstick on the mirror, eyeliner. We've heard it since we were children. This is the most practical way. And since we talked about it from a really high level, I want us to have a very practical piece. And it's the 3 things that we believe in most here at Wild and Well Together is you are loved, write it down. You matter,
Grab a pen.
and you serve a purpose the world needs. So I'm going to flip it now that people have started to grab pens and pencils, papers, and say, I am loved.
Mm,
I matter. I serve a purpose the world needs.
yeah.
I am loved. I matter. I serve a purpose the world needs. I am loved. I matter. I serve a purpose the world needs. Flipping it on its head, here's the other piece to it. All of us have just written it down. That means we have to accept that the person next to me, whether I agree with them or not, is
Mm,
loved, matters, and serves a purpose the world needs. That's across political lines, that's across religious lines, that's across any sort of ideation and ideological lines.
mhm.
Person next to me is loved, they matter, they serve a purpose they need. The world needs. I am loved. I matter. I serve a purpose the world needs. Jen, you are loved. You matter. You serve the purpose the world needs. And in that, then it allows us to say, okay, now I can go on. Now I can see myself where I
Yeah.
am and where I can grow to. Practical application from you. What is the journal prompt for the week?
Journal prompt for the week. This might feel a little sticky, but simply, what part of yourself are you refusing to accept right now? And how might that resistance be keeping you from growing? And so it's really just trying to get at that sort of identification of like, where are you holding back? Where are you not allowing acceptance of yourself, of who you are, and how might that resistance actually be the thing that's keeping you from growing?
I'm getting teary. That's heavy.
It is
Jen,
heavy.
you're going for home runs.
Getting the shovel out and going deep.
There you go. There you go. I appreciate that though, because I don't want it to remain surface level. We
Yeah.
won't ask you to share them out. If you want to, feel free to share them out and be vulnerable there,
Yeah.
online, to your friends, to your family, to those closest to you.
Mhm.
However, this is self-reflective of
Yeah.
do I love myself? And where am I at with that? And do I
Mhm.
accept myself as I
Yeah.
am now? And what do I need to do to become who I want to be if not? Thank you for this today again, Jen. As always, cheers, Wild and Wild listeners. We are really grateful that you are here together with us. We hope you have a blessed week, an awesome week. We'll see you next week.
Yeah. We'll see you next week in the huddle. Bye, everybody.
Cheers.